Does this feeling sound familiar, my friend? This sense that you're wandering through a labyrinth where every turn reveals only another wall? Or worse, a fleeting, deceptive promise of an exit that vanishes like smoke? You're searching for something to fill you up, to give you that sense of genuine, unshakable joy. But the world around you, so bright, so noisy, so tempting, seems only to tease, offering 1,000 pleasures that, once they touch your soul, leave behind only a bitter aftertaste of emptiness and an even sharper thirst. You grasp at one thing, then another. The glitter of success, the warmth of fleeting affections, the thrill of new sensations, fresh experiences. But your heart, that tireless, ever-yearning heart, it keeps whispering, not it, still not it. Why is that? Why does this endless kaleidoscope of external stimuli so rarely bring true, deep satisfaction? We live in a culture that constantly tells us, look outside, take more, consume, enjoy, and we, as obedient children of our time, direct all our antennas, our 5 senses, these amazing gifts, towards the external world, trying to grab, absorb, and possess as much of what seems attractive to us as possible. Our sight craves beauty and novelty. Our hearing stretches towards harmony and pleasant sounds. Our sense of smell seeks exciting aromas. Taste desires exquisite delicacies, and touch yearns for gentle caresses and comfort. And there's nothing inherently wrong with this, for the world is indeed full of wonders. But here's the paradox. The harder we try to quench this thirst solely with external sources, the stronger it becomes. We become slaves to our sensations, hostages of fleeting pleasures which, like salt water, only intensify our spiritual thirst. We forget that the true source, the spring of living water, isn't out there somewhere beyond the horizon, but much closer, right inside us. But what if I told you there's another way? A path that doesn't deny the beauty and richness of the external world, but invites you to look at it with entirely different eyes. What if your senses, which you may have grown accustomed to seeing as mere guides into a world of temptation and disappointment, could actually become your staunchest allies on the journey to profound peace, joy, and union with truth? Yes, you heard me right. Those very windows of your soul, your sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch, can transform from gateways through which chaos and restlessness invade your life into sacred portals leading to authentic treasure. The secret isn't to shut these windows, to wall yourself off from the world, but to learn to look through them differently, to see not just the surface, but the profound essence, to hear not just the noise, but the quiet music of being. Imagine you've lived for a long time in a room with very dirty windows. You saw the world as blurry, dim, distorted, and you thought the world was simply like that. But one day you decided to clean them. And suddenly, the world burst forth in new colors, incredible vistas opened up. You saw things you'd never noticed before. It's the same with our senses. When they serve only to satisfy superficial desires, they are like those dirty windows. But when we cleanse them with intention, with awareness, and with a yearning for something higher, they begin to show us true, radiant reality. This transformation begins with understanding one deep, yet so simple truth. Everything we perceive in the external world is merely a reflection, a faint echo of the infinite, ineffable, divine source of all being. When we forget this source, we begin to worship the reflections, become attached to them, and suffer when they disappear or change. But when we remember, when we learn to see in every phenomenon, in every sensation, a glimmer of this primal cause, then everything changes. Instead of being slaves to our senses, we become their masters, wise stewards, directing their energy towards creation, towards knowledge, towards love. So how do we make this shift? How do we learn this new, sacred way of perceiving? It's a path that requires attention, patience, and practice. But the reward is beyond words. Allow me to offer you a few keys, a few steps that will help you turn your senses into instruments of spiritual growth and understanding. The first key is conscious direction of your attention. Understand, my friend, your senses, like restless children, constantly want to run off, to be captivated by something bright, new, exciting. And if you don't gently but firmly guide them, they will drag you around in circles of the same old habitual reactions and attachments. Start simply. Observe where your gaze is drawn, what sounds attract your ear, what smells and tastes evoke strong reactions in you. Don't judge yourself, just observe. And then, with a conscious effort of will, begin to redirect your attention. If you notice your eyes greedily seeking only sensual pleasures, turn them towards what is truly beautiful, what elevates the soul, the beauty of nature, a work of art, a kind face. If your hearing is accustomed to empty chatter or destructive music, begin to listen to silence, to the singing of birds, to words of wisdom. This is the first but very crucial step, to take the reins of control into your own hands. Remember what the ancients said, that death enters through the windows? These windows are your senses, but life and light can also enter through them if you learn to cleanse them and orient them correctly. The second principle, flowing from the first, is transforming your perception by seeking deeper meaning. When your senses encounter any object, whether it's a beautiful flower, a captivating melody, aromatic bread, a warm handshake, or even yourself reflected in a mirror, don't just stop at the surface. Ask yourself, what's behind this? What invisible force? What wisdom? What beauty brought this into the world? Try to mentally separate the visible, material shell from that invisible, spiritual principle that animates it. Understand that nothing in this world exists on its own. Every atom, every blade of grass, every star, all are manifestations of the one creative spirit. When you look at mountains, think not only of stone and height, but of the unshakable power and eternity they symbolize, and of the one who raised them. When you hear a bird sing, hear in it not just a collection of sounds, but a hymn of life, the joy of creation, and thank the one who endowed this tiny creature with such a wondrous voice. It's like looking at a painting by a great master. You can see only canvas and paint, or you can see the artist's intention, their feelings, their genius. Learn to see the artist in all their creations. The third step on this path is the practice of gratitude and glorification through every sensation. This is perhaps the most joyful and inspiring aspect. When you begin to see in every manifestation of the world a reflection of the divine, your heart cannot help but be filled with gratitude. Look, when your eyes see beauty, be it a sunrise over the ocean, a child's smile, or the symmetry of a snowflake, don't just enjoy it as a consumer. Separate in your consciousness this visible beauty from that invisible, eternal beauty, of which it is a faint reflection. And then from the depths of your heart, you can exclaim, "Oh, source of all beauty, how marvelous are your works! If your creation is so beautiful, then what must you yourself be like, oh ineffably beautiful Creator?" Feel how this thought expands your consciousness, how it fills you with awe and joy. When your hearing catches harmonious sounds, music, the rustling of leaves, the babbling of a brook, imagine that higher divine harmony that underlies the entire cosmos, a symphony in which angelic choirs, myriads of stars, and every living soul participate, and say, "Oh, divine harmony, harmony of harmonies." How sweet it is to sense your presence in these sounds. Let me hear with the ears of my heart your still, small voice, bringing peace and tranquility. If you inhale the fragrance of a flower or freshly cut grass, let this thought carry you to that inexhaustible spiritual fragrance that fills the universe, to that myrrh that is poured out upon all creation. Remember how ancient Isaac, smelling the fragrance of his son Jacob's garments, perceived in it God's blessing. And you can say, "Oh, unfading flower, eternal fragrance, how you fill everything with your unseen presence, enlivening and sanctifying." When you taste food, even the simplest, think of who gives it this flavor, who nourishes you not only with daily bread, but with life itself. And let your heart rejoice. My soul, taste and see that the source is good. In it alone is true sweetness and satisfaction, while without it, there is only hunger and emptiness. Even when you touch something, when your hands perform some task, remember that the very power to move, the very ability to act, is a gift. You are a living instrument in the hands of a higher power. And say, "O prime mover of all that is," yourself remaining unmoved. "What joy I feel realizing that without you I can do nothing, and that you are the beginning and anointing of every good deed." And when you see kindness, wisdom, justice, or any other virtue in other people, don't attribute it solely to them. See in it a manifestation of divine qualities reflected in the human soul, and give thanks. "Oh, treasury of all virtues, how glad I am to see your gifts in my neighbor. But remember, O benefactor, my own poverty, and help me to cultivate these seeds of good in my own soul." You might object, "But this sounds so difficult. How can I constantly think this way, feel this way? My mind is too restless, my habits too strong." Yes, my friend, this doesn't happen by itself. This is a conscious choice, a daily, hourly practice. It's like tuning a musical instrument. At first it requires effort, feels clumsy, but gradually with practice, you'll begin to feel your soul respond, how it starts to resonate in unison with the great symphony of being. Don't beat yourself up for setbacks, for slipping back into habitual superficial perception. Just gently bring yourself back to this path. Every moment is a new opportunity. Every glance, every sound, every breath is an invitation to an encounter with the divine. Understand, the entire world around you is a giant, living book, written in the language of symbols and images. And each of your senses is the ability to read this book. When you learn this art of reading, you will cease to be merely a consumer of external impressions. You will become a co-creator, a participant in this great mystery. You will begin to see that behind the visible lies the invisible, behind the material, the spiritual, behind the temporary, the eternal. And then your life will be filled with such meaning, such depth, such joy as you have never dreamed of before. You will walk the earth, but your heart will dwell in the heavens. You will interact with the world, but the world will have no power over you. You will find true freedom. Freedom from passions, freedom from fears, freedom to be who you were created to be. For ultimately, all that exists, from the tiniest grain of sand to the galaxies, speaks to us of one thing: the boundless wisdom, love, and beauty of its creator. As one wise sage said, "From the greatness and beauty of created things, we ascend mentally to their maker." And another affirmed that God's invisible attributes, his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world in the things that have been made. The world is given to us not merely for the delight of our senses, but as a school for knowing the divine. All of nature is a kind of grand instrument upon which the master artist invisibly plays, revealing to us their art and their perfections. And we, endowed with reason, are called to hear this music, to see this art, to comprehend this design. So begin today, right now. Don't put it off. When you go outside, look at the sky not just as a blue expanse overhead. See in it a symbol of boundlessness, purity, transcendence. Think of the light that is brighter than any light and which gives life to all. When you drink water, feel not only its coolness. Think of the living water that quenches all spiritual thirst. When you hear a child's laughter, hear in it an echo of pure primordial joy, which is in the heart of the divine. Let every one of your senses become a prayer, a hymn, an act of love and knowing. Ask yourself, what do I direct my sight towards most often? Does it bring me true joy or just fleeting excitement? What sounds fill my day? Do they uplift me or drag me down? What aromas and tastes do I seek? Do they nourish only my body or my soul too? How do I use my sense of touch? Do I bring warmth and creation into the world through it, or destruction and coldness? Start small. Choose one sense, one moment, and try to apply these principles. You'll be amazed at the discoveries awaiting you on this path. Your life is a sacred pilgrimage, and your senses are your guides. Learn to trust them, but also to direct them wisely. And then you will discover that paradise is not a distant place, but a state of soul, accessible to you here and now, through a transformed perception of the world given to you as a gift. Go forward, my friend. Begin this amazing journey to your true self, to truth, to the love that awaits you in every atom of this magnificent world. You are capable of this. You already have everything you need within you. Just open yourself to this flow, and it will carry you to heights you never dared to dream of.